fun to be able to snowball that early game.
We have a very similar, we have a very contradicting ideas. I do like
Welcome to Mobile Legends!
Well, we're gonna see how exactly and which team's gonna come out on top of these two different drafts here. This is game number 1. If you've just joined us, it's between Homeboys SG as well as Team Evil. Now, Abstract, you said you prefer Evil's draft here. That's a differing take from Youngin.
Yeah. So generally speaking, I really like the very fact that when you pick up on a Lilia, you actually focus a lot more on about the mid control. And in getting a mid control for Evil, they are a momentum-based team. That is the idea and the team identity that they are looking out for, and they're playing towards their advantage. If they get themselves the mid control, ultimately the early game will be more or less for them to take. They have a Khalid that is very strong in the lane itself, so that could be something that we could look out for.
Yep, the knockout comes through though onto 2. Darius in some trouble, has to back out here. Flicker being burned. It looks like Twist will reconsider his engage from the side here and back off. So no lives lost yet.
So at this point in time, we are still relatively early into the game, right? When we are looking at the rotations, or rather when we are looking at how both of the junglers start, they do have a very good idea how they will want to play, as none of them is really just more about the gank or the assassin. They want to focus more on objective. They want to control more of the parts of the map that really favors them.
Yes, correct. So as you mentioned, right, for the side of Evil here, lane priority is going to be key for them, right? I think they're doing quite well with this Khalid. You see Khalid has already pushed out his lane. Baxia, generally a very fast wave, jungle clearer, right? And they're able to set up this lot pretty quickly. And from there, you need to cover advantage here because this is one of your primary win conditions, right? Get that snowball in early game.
Yeah, and right now Homeboys already clearing themselves some space here. Virno Kyodo, a little low on HP at this moment. So Evil, they actually back away and give control over this turtle to Homeboys. Dairy, some zoning happening here, and doesn't look like there will be a contest. Powerful coming off the jumble, knockup by Dairy. Some damage being put out. Torture on the knockup on the wild charge as well. Stuns out. Here's a raging sandstorm by Pack, stuns out too. And Dairy is the first to go down. In the meantime, drops, grabs the turtle for himself. Twist goes in the back line onto Pex, manages to dash away. The Flicker will get him, and Twist still knocks that one up to himself.
Now, of course, there is a lot of trades in between of Homeboys and Evils when it comes down to ultimate economy. They are throwing out with the wild charge, they're throwing out with the raging sandstorm, but there's one thing that actually stood out a lot to me, not particularly in that team fight, but it's more on the fact that there is a lot of discipline coming in from Powerful. It's as though he knew that Homeboys were actually baiting out Powerful to go for the initiation and engage, while Homeboys will want to go for the counter engage and take out the jungler while the turtle is currently available.
Yeah, so that actually also happened because on the side of Evil here, right, Twist actually rotated slightly later there.
Yeah, we go back onto Dairy here. Looks like a little scuffle happening between Powerful, but they're not gonna commit too much. I mean, there's no objectives on the ground for them to take either.
Yeah, so battle of the EXP lane here, right? You see both EXP laners trying to go for the cut. It is about who rotates first, because on just now at the total fight, one of the primary reasons of why Homeboys was able to take the total was that grok on Vinocure rotating first and then getting that 3-man wild charge down onto Evil, which kind of like secured them the fight a little bit. But with Twist coming a little bit late, ultimately securing that Valentina was still a very good trade for them.
Right now, they're looking to siege the top here. Pressure onto Enya, making sure he doesn't get too far ahead. Although he's already gotten himself the Heart's Claw, so a bit of a build-up, an important item for him to secure as well. Now, both teams slowly starting to make their way down. The next objective is coming up, so they're posturing towards that. And Pax actually picking up the black shoes here, like you pointed out.
Wow, okay, so not exactly what I was expecting out of Homeboys. I was expecting, I've got to have to be greedy. I gotta have to follow up, initiate, follow up. But I do like this a little bit of a sense of fresh air for myself at least. And well, right on the nail actually, Youngin.
Yeah, we're gonna start stuffing here. Very, go back onto his Carrot, taking some damage. Has to flicker out, but goes back in with the kick. Carrot goes down, and now the turtle, they're fighting for it, but Superdog wins out the retreat battle. Powerful on the run here. The Guardian Barrel gonna stop him. Raging Sandstorm by Twist onto Super, drops backs out. Twist tries to go for the backline here. Virno Pure in some trouble. Powerful wants to chase this down, but Twist is gonna go in with the flicker instead. They're going to knock down, get down to do one more onto Homeboys.
Quite a bit of outplay from the side of Homeboys, I'm gonna have to say, even though those are very small micro decisions that Homeboys has made. For example, Virnocure not wanting to give a free kill over to Khalid. Khalid already expended a flicker. He gonna have to expend the flicker of himself.
Yeah, so more than that as well, right? If you go back to the replay, right, go and look at that micro position that he has, because right as about the Lord was in retry range, he immediately went for the wild charge on the side of Powerful there to make sure that he does not even get a chance to press his retribution.
Top side here, Derry hits some trouble. 3 members onto him, and he's still able to escape just for a while longer. Powerful chasing them down. One more hit, Coconut seals the deal. But Pax, he's here with the rotation. Enya puts him down in the dirt. It's going to be a 1-for-1 trade across Powerful and Derry.
That is one thing that you do not want to underestimate, is a Bruno with a Heart's Claw as his first item sub 4 minutes. Although I can't remember if Anya actually got it out in under 4 minutes, but regardless, once you see a Bruno with a Heart's Claws, that is a note that you need to know that a Bruno will be able to sustain the lane very well, and perhaps some kind of reactionary tail from the opponent side is needed.
Yeah, so for this side of Homeboy here, as you mentioned, right, having this Bruno straightway scaling up, you know, having no difficulties in the early game. I think that's one of the win conditions that a Bruno wants to have. Have a decent laning, have that 1v1 so that you can start that tower snowball in a little while, right? Because having this early Husklaw here makes sure that he gets to stay in his lane most of the time.
It's also another thing that we're gonna have to look out for is the fact that we have a lot of people going down over to the EXP. It is a heavy lane in the EXP, leaving the gold lane actually into a game of mechanics and skill. But in the meantime, we're looking at something here.
Yep, the knockup, 3-man knockup here. Carrot comes in, tries to stop that and disengage, but Jock super here control over this turtle, going to again take it from them, and Dairy backs out with the flicker. Jock looking to chase this down. Carrot has to dash out for his life. Another flicker spent just to get away.
Yep, so 3 for 3 Jocks on the retribution so far, right? I think one of the strengths that Jock has as a player, as we can see from the previous seasons up until now, is that most of the time when I see him contesting for 50-50 turtles, he actually wins it more than 50% of the time, right? So I think that is incredibly good for somebody on the side of Jocks, you know, and strength for Homeboys to have, because you realize that the fights they always bait the opponent in, they'll kind of like take a miniature fight, and then they'll go for this kind of like 50-50 retribution where Jocks will actually win out. So overall, playing to the strengths of their team, right, and then knowing what to do and execute in that moment in time.
It's a tough contention as well, because one thing that I do remember when it comes down to the previous seasons is the fact that our friend here, Powerful, has got the most amount of objective taken. He's one of the best retribution user in MPL SG so far. But right now, with that information as well, Super Jocks is probably outclassing Powerful, which completely puts a stop to the kind of statistics that we used to have.
The siege coming up the top lane, knock up onto 2, Powerful and Carrot. They're chasing down Dairy, putting out the damage enough to seal the deal, and he goes down. The rest of Homeboys here rotating, but it seems like too little too late, as Evil just chooses to disengage.
Good amount of heavy lifting up in the top side. Evil is finally putting a little bit more of the emphasis up into the gold lane after getting a very good respect item that Bruno has.
Yeah, so currently, right, as you look at the map so far, 0 towers have been taken so far, right as Lord is about to spawn, right? So very interesting game, because both lanes are kind of like, yeah, we can see them constantly rotating to the EXP lane sometimes, we see them rotating to the gold lane sometimes, but unfortunately there is no fight that breaks out big enough for any of these teams to take the lead.
The one thing is, most of the time when we are looking at the First Lord, generally what we want out of the First Lord is going to be all the outer turrets. So this very specific Lord is going to play a very huge amount of value.
Yep, and Evo's taking the first step here. Pax knocked out top of Black Shoes in the backline. Bruno Kill Flicker gets away, but still manages to get it. Carrot is the one to put him down. Jock in some trouble. Powerful chasing him. The onward throws him back and knocked up as well. He gets the credit for that. And it's going to be Evil taking full control, knowing that they saw Enya up top taking that tower, but still, they can't convert this.
One thing that I want to point out is I'm not too sure if whether this is by a stroke of luck or not, but the onwards coming in from Carrot actually came in a very disgusting time. Actually flipped over Super Jogs when he was actually channeling on the Appraisal's Wrath, which didn't clip onto anyone at all.
Oh, Dairy, the sandbag once again stand out by Powerful. I think they got the tower again on the bottom side, so that clears out a lot of map space for Homeboys here, but it's still Evil posturing towards the aggressive play here in the river.
And now it's all left down back into the stalemate and the dances of the Lord. While Homeboys still have a very generic idea how they would want to get a lane pushed out, whether it be a slow push or they are just trying to get more lane priority out of that. I believe that Homeboys do not have lane priority in the top lane, so they might want to address that real soon. But how the dance of the Lord is going to be like, we'll see how.
Well, charge already burnt on the Powerful. The kick as well onto him will stop him from engaging. Dairy tries to go for the back twist with the Raging Sandstorm again in the back line. And now Homeboys are falling apart. Enya goes down. It's 2 members short for Homeboys as Evil secures their positioning here for the Lord. And it's the key objective for them to take despite losing all the turtles initially.
Well, this is the magic of the Evil team fight that we are talking about, right? Every single time they gather up with these 5 men, right? Somehow they are always able to go for those big catches, big flanks, big amount of DPS that comes out that always gets them this kind of 5v5 win. And even on the side of Homeboys, even though I predicted for them to have the slightly better draft here, you know, Evil comes here and prove me wrong, right? Takes the first lot, and with this lot, they are looking to take a set of objectives here, right? All the tier 1s, all the tier 2 towers, and you know, if possible, break the tier 3s from there.
Another throwback by Carrot onto Super Jocks here, knock up as well to stop him from retreating. He is gone from the picture as Evil continues to siege down this bottom lane together with the first lot, making best use of it as they can. They've already whittled down everything to the base turret and now moving over to the mid lane.
One thing that is great to see is that the bottom lane first and second tier defense turrets are already down. And not to forget, I mean, it's 12 minutes now, so basically we won't be able to see the magical shield in the inhibitor turrets anymore. At least it did break the bottom part, just by the bottom turret, just by a tad little bit. What's left is going to be the second tier defense turret in the top and the middle lane. So technically, the Lord has done his job, but not exactly as a bonus, because what they would want is to get a full control of the opponent's map as much as possible. Step 1, all first tier. Step 2, all second tier. But just having first tier turrets all down, they pretty much have got the control of the river, and that could eventually lead to a snowball as long as the game is played right.
Yep, so for the side of Evil as well, you know, maintaining that mid-tier 1, right, gives them a lot of map control because they are able to do things like this. Take over the map, you know, any single time Homeboys trying to push in, like right now, they are able to push back.
Oh, the wild charge gets 2. Verniokoff flickers
twist!
around the back line! Twist with the Raging Sandstorm again! And now Homeboys, Enya bites the dust together with Jerry. It's 2 down. Like you said, what is this, the magic touch of Evil?
But I think that's truly magical. I mean, from what I see from the side of Twist, right? He didn't make that choice of the flicker and Raging Sandstorm because of the fact that he saw the opponents did it. Because I'm pretty sure that the movements coming from Homeboys was less than, what, 0.5 seconds of what Twist is capable of reacting upon. It is more of a preemptive strike that Twist wanted to do. He knew beforehand that he wants to flicker. Even if it's a one-man hit, it is still a gamble, expecting the members of Homeboys to actually coagulate together at the one little choke point.
Yeah, so this comes back to the draft, to the point of the draft, right? When I questioned this drop, you know, going into the EXP lane and then taking up this throw on the David, right? So far we see David score, right, 0-5. You know, he's not able to do what he wants, and early on in the game as well, every single time that he goes for the Way of the Dragon, you don't, except that one time where he did a good, the combination with the flicker, right? That was the only prominent catch that I have seen so far. And because of this, you know, that's why they are struggling a little bit.
X being called out, pops the black shoes here, and Super Drops again, rolling it out, but Homeboys, the rest of them has come to party. The kick, Way of Dragon onto Powerful, and the Terrified couple on top of that. There's no way out for him, but he's so tanky that even the Appraisal's Wrath cannot get him down. So Evil, now they've secured the space in the jungle for them to push Homeboys out of the Lord Pit.
I technically don't really have a lot of issues about catching out the front liners, in this case, which is powerful. But I think that what it is going to be the problem is the fact that Homeboy's draft doesn't really exactly allow them to capitalize on catching front lines, because we're talking about Bruno here. Bruno has got great critical hits, he's got great movement as well. So what's really good is for him to really take advantage of positioning.
Twist again, goes in the backline. Coconut manages to secure one kill for himself. The throwback again onto Superjux, puts him in the middle of everyone. And now Homeboys tries to run away, but Carrot makes sure that Superjux has no escape path for him. And now that they've gotten the key target, Superjux with the Retribution, they are free to take this Lord for themselves. Evil, super strong throwing here.
I think it's the invisible impact coming in from JS as well,
Blue
right?
team has slain the Lord.
309. That is a scoreline whereby JS haven't died a single time. But one thing that helps Bruno excel is space, is kiting. But one thing that stops him from doing that is movement speed, right? So whenever JS clips even one part of Enya, even once, that is going to be the tick coming in from the Ice Queen's wand, which disables a little bit of the mobility of Enya, making his kiting potential a lot lower, and thus making his damage output a lot lesser as well, because you just don't have the time to weave in and out
Red
very
team turret has
effectively.
been destroyed.
Right now, it looks like the Lord's coming down the bottom lane as well.
Red team
Evil
base turret
slowly
has been
decimating the
destroyed. Base turret has
structures
been
from the side of
destroyed.
Homeboys. Top goes down, and it's only left with the middle base turret here as Homeboys looks to protect the last defenses of their base.
It's only left with a single inhibitor turret in the middle lane. Powerful seems to be
Red team
poking a
base
little bit,
turret
but
has
they're
been
not going for
destroyed.
anything too comical just yet. I think Evil is definitely trying to get a little bit of motivation by all of these mega creeps in the waves in the top, middle, and bottom lane, but I don't think that is something that they are capable of forcing out here.
Yeah, so all 3 lanes down, right? That's
Yeah.
your first condition for some Evil. Abstract as you have mentioned earlier, right? Having that wave clear, first of all, first wave clear, and then from there, the Baxia snowball a little bit. And with this lead that they have, I am slightly more confident in Evil actually pulling this one off.
I mean, right now it's been like 14-3, right? It's looking very dire for Homeboys as well. And looking at the items, they're pretty much all at full build now.
Yeah, so this is the part of the game where, you know, items, where you see a lot of emotes coming out, right? This is where the emotes come out, where the winter comes out, where you start to gain that kind of access goal, where the fights are prolonged long enough that any mistake you make in the late game, you know, is pronounced. Because one death on any of these single teams would equate to a lot being taken. And if you're on the side of Homeboys right now, with all 3 of your lanes being out, having to lose the lot here would prove to be quite detrimental for them to even continue this game.
I actually do have a single question that I would like to ask Youngin. You know, just kind of like beelining right onto a certain player here. Fear No Cure. He's playing as a Grok, and most of the time, we recognize Grok as that annoying hero that is able to open up the maps very effectively with tanky items. But Fear No Cure have decided to go for something a little bit different this time. He went for the Blade of the Heptasis, Sea Halberd, Malefic Roar. Is there any specific reason that he's trying to go for that?
Yeah, so as dictated in the draft, right, the moment they have decided for the Grok not to be a tank, he is playing as the burst for the team right now. So he wants to go in together with his team. This kind of like max DPS coming in with the moment you see the Way of the Dragon, right? You kind of like want to pick off whoever is being kicked there, and then you go with that pick off, you reset, and then you go back for the 5v4. So that is the idea that they have behind in their mind. But yeah, but for the side of Dewi here, you know, unfortunately, having the last pick and then not doing well in your last pick is definitely a fatal flaw, you know, in how the lineup is being dictated. And that's why we can see Evo having the edge here a little bit.
So Homeboy has identified that, and they knew that Enya is not capable of really just fully utilizing the catch potential that Dewi provides to the team, so they need Fear No Cure to do that.
Oh, Jox again in some trouble. They aim for him again. And Pex trying to use the Raging Sandstorm, saves him, but he's in trouble. And the reverse comes back onto him. A retribution, if you will. And Evo crashes down onto Homeboys. Enya in trouble, being chunked down. The relentless pursuit from Evo. They just cannot get away. It's a complete wipeout.
5 for
Presented
0.
to you by Head and Shoulders onto Homeboys. Team Evo takes this game 1 very convincingly.
We have a lot to talk about.